Hi, okay, so I want to do a very quick video tonight, and it's just really having a quick check-in with the judicial process as it stands in Britain and looking at, is it still fit for purpose? So this is in conjunction with a now police investigation, and I can't name it and I can't name the person at all. I don't want to go there. But let's just look at the trial by media that seems to be occurring. And there's a few different cases where that seems to be happening. Now, I would argue very strongly that details shouldn't be published. I've said this before in a couple of different videos, and I'll praise it very quickly. If there is a case where journalists have investigated something and they've picked up some really lurid details and then they publish them, those details are not, in my opinion, in the public's best interest. What is in the public's best interest is the fact that an investigation has occurred or that it's gone to the police. Nothing else is in the public's best interests. And I want to say that right off the bat, because to me, what on earth is going on at the moment? I feel like witch hunts can occur all over the place. I feel like there is a massive skewing of bias in favour of people bringing allegations. Right off the bat, I'm going to say there's a video I've just watched which is really good, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you go to GB News' channel and watch an interview with a lady called Sarah Phillimore. She's a barrister and she outlines her thoughts on this really, really well. So I totally recommend that you go and watch that interview if you haven't already. So I'm just going to outline a few thoughts here. Basically, what's happened with regards to this particular case is trial by media. And trial by media is dangerous, murky territory. Why? Because in this instance, every detail was published and the details were very lurid and they were very sensationalised. Now, if at any point further down the line this person is found not guilty by police, maybe the police can bring a case to court, maybe they can't. If they're found not guilty, how do you get your life back when the allegations themselves are so sensationalist? You're going to remember those allegations. You're going to remember where you were when you first heard they broke. They're that sensational. And they have seared themselves into the memories of an awful lot of people. Now, it's going to be very hard, in my opinion, for those people, if they hear, oh, he's innocent, etc. It's going to be very hard for those people to believe that that person might be innocent. It's going to be very hard for them to not just go along with all of these allegations and go, well, I know what I believe. The allegations seem plausible, etc. So what are we talking here? Well, if a person is found not guilty, or there just isn't enough to bring a case, etc., you know, that's potentially ruined a life. So there's a real human rights angle here. There's a real justice and a potential miscarriage of justice here, you know. If these people had just gone to the police would have perhaps released, you know, done a press release, and that probably would have had no details in it. Just the police are investigating certain allegations brought by this person, etc. And that would have been that. And then we'd have just waited for the outcome of the trial, or during the trial. You know, at the moment, I think we can still publish details of what's going on during a trial, can't we? Whether or not that should be the case as well, I don't know. But certainly not at the allegations stage. Just because the journalists have this information does not make them the arbiters of justice. It does not make them gods, and it does not replace our current legal process. But all of that seems to be the case in this instance. They think they're God. They want to replace the current legal process. Now, there's been a bit of pushback by the journalistic publication concerned, where they've said, they've pushed back and they said, well, don't you want us to do our jobs then? Surely journalists should be allowed to do their jobs. Yes, you should. And if you find criminal proceedings, you should pass those to the police and shut up. Give police a chance to do their job. I would say there's a massive conflict of interest as well, because a journalist conducting an investigation, especially if it's a high profile one, there's real potential there for additional revenue for the publication. Hey, how is that dealt with within a journalistic organisation, whereby if you break a case and if you publish the details, because if they'd have just published, say, 3 lines to say a person was under investigation, that wouldn't have brought loads of people to their paper, to their publication. But if you publish all the lurid details and they're behind a paywall, that's a different story. Either people are going to go out and buy a physical copy of the paper, or they're going to absolutely pay for a subscription just to read that article. That brings an awful lot of revenue your way. There again, that could perhaps bias the journalistic sort of style concerned, couldn't it? Because a court of law will look at both sides of an argument and will interrogate both sides of an argument. So will the police. A journalist, do they? Or do they just take down all of the details that the allegations, of the allegations brought by a particular person? And they're a nice sympathetic ear and they just take down the details and then they publish them. An awful lot has happened, hasn't it, at the allegations only stage. We've seen a person demonetised at the allegations only stage. We've seen all of the details against this person at the allegations only stage. The people bringing these allegations from many years ago get to sit under a shroud of anonymity. We, the public, have no idea how this was conducted. Anybody seeking to bring false allegations against another human being, that's a very low percentage of the population. It doesn't happen very often. However, does that mean you still wouldn't want to rule it out? That's for a courtroom to decide, or the police to decide. It may be that all allegations are true. It may be that all of them are not. It may be that some of them are true and some of them cannot be verified, etc., etc., etc. None of this, I don't think, could be adequately investigated by a journalist, however well-meaning the journalist. And as I say, I think there's a real conflict of interest there. If the police aren't looking to get more people buying a police publication, there is no conflict of interest in that regard. But a journalist, ultimately, what a scoop, what a scoop. You, the journalist, are going to get a lot of kudos. Your paper is going to get an awful lot more money. And an awful lot, it's going to be under the spotlight. So, and all news is good news as far as a journalist goes. The more sensational, the better, because more people might buy your publication and be talking about it and so on and so forth. It's free advertising, for heaven's sake. So that represents a huge conflict of interest. Then you've got the whole trial by media thing anyway, which absolutely bypasses, undercuts, circumvents the legal process completely. Should that be the case? If it is, do we ditch our legal process? Just throw out the lawyers, just throw out the police. We don't need them anymore. All we need is a journalist, apparently. There's a balance, there's a fine line. And if you're a journalist and you want that scoop and you want that story, you've still got to consider the ethics of it as well. However much pressure maybe from an editor or God knows what else. There's a real ethical consideration, from the whole publication. If you're uncovering some details which not only are very unsavoury and sensationalist, but also potentially criminal, that's the point you drop your investigation, surely, and hand it to the police. That's their job after all. You've got enough to go to the police, great, then go to the police. you know, and that's when they take it up and run with it. And you bench what you've learned. You bench it, pending police investigation, pending any further judicial process needed. And I think we just need to have conversations about this. There are questions to be asked. At what point do we publish all the details? At what point should we? Should we publish all the details at all? You know? Especially if they're very unsavoury, very lurid and very sensationalised. Do we have some sort of précis of those details? Do they get published only after trial? Is it right that journalists are in the courtroom and can publish what they like from that courtroom? You know, I just think we need to have conversations. Many conversations about this. And in the case, the current case, the person is potentially done for. They're finished. They are finished. Not completely. Have they taken a huge financial hit? Yes. Have they taken a hell of a reputational hit? Yes. All of this has just been handled badly, really badly, you know, and I just think we should be making a bit of a, you know, I think we should be kicking off about it a little bit and having some conversations about it, you know, because of the potential ramifications. Because, as I say, what does this say? It says in the future that anybody with allegations can come forward and rip someone apart, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Nothing they can do about it. And in the event that someone is innocent, that's a life destroyed when the judicial process was bypassed and maybe even prejudiced right from the word go. Surely any signs of evolution are greater capacity to hold a nuanced, balanced outlook and to understand that allegations do not mean necessarily that somebody is guilty. Is this anything that we want in a free, fair, democratic society? Now, obviously, in any society, there's going to be problems. You know, there is no utopia, perhaps, on this planet. However, what the hell is going on with this case? It's all a bit pitchforks at dawn. It's all a bit The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage punching a bear. You know, it feels like things have gotten a little bit out of control. Doesn't it? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. And I think this needs to go really high up. I think we need lawyers creating a hell of a fuss now. I think the government needs to get involved. I think not demonetise, but they need to get involved to talk about what exactly is fair and kosher and what exactly our legal process is for anymore. Because if it's for this, like I say, then the police might as well just step down, go home. And the same with lawyers and judges. Because our legal system means nothing if it can be bypassed successfully by a journalist, you know? So yeah, just a few thoughts there. I don't know what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah, I just think it's been a travesty of justice, personally. I really do. If there's a chance of innocence, we've always had that line, innocent until proven guilty. And in this case, we've driven a Panzer tank across that line. So I think we really need to take a look at it. This isn't the only case where we've had the details splattered out there for everyone's consumption. Because, you know, it's in the public's best interests. I don't think these details were in our best interests at all, or in the public interests at all. So there we are. So that's me for today. Let me know what you think. I hope you're having a really good weekend. Yeah, take care out there, and yeah, God bless. Take care. Good night.